Assalamu alaikum. Just testing the mic. Please let me know if you can hear me. All right, thank you, ladies. We shall start in about 5 minutes, inshallah. All right, ladies, we are ready to begin now. I hope everybody can hear me and everybody can see the slides. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. So, Assalamu alaikum, ladies, and welcome to this session on maintaining spiritual and emotional well-being. For this session, which will last for about 50 minutes or so, we'll have a little bit of a talk and then, inshallah, an interactive discussion. If you want to speak, you can unmute your mic and speak, or you can write in the chat box. I don't know how it's going to work with a large group like this, but I think we should try. The whole idea behind these sessions is to give people a chance to talk, to to air out some things that they're feeling, to discuss with one another. These are very difficult times, unprecedented times. We have never gone through anything like this before. And so we as a community need to get together and help and support one another. So the idea behind these sessions that we will have, inshallah, so far we have planned about 5 sessions on Wednesdays, is to discuss some of the things that we're feeling, we're going through, and how we can help each other and how we can sort of support each other to make it a better experience. So I'd like to start off with saying that, of course, even Islamically, we are supposed to carry out everything that has been recommended to us by the health authorities, by the government. And I'm sure you all keep hearing this again and again, but I just want to emphasize it and then move on to what I want to talk about. So we have to follow all the protocol that has been told to us. So washing of hands, social distancing, everything that is being emphasized so that we as a collective society can help contain this virus and the spread of this virus. So there is no doubt about it that it is obligatory on us to carry out these things. But what I want to specifically discuss in these sessions is spiritual and emotional help for ourselves. We all go through emotions. We all feel scared, uncertain. Sometimes we just don't feel like doing anything. We wonder what will happen. Life's so not normal anymore. And all the things that we would perhaps look forward to, right? Going to the mosque, meeting people, a lot of the things that add joy and excitement to our lives are not available to us anymore. And so it requires a whole new mindset from us. And it's hard to do that on your own. So I think as a group, if we discuss that, it is helpful for everybody. It can inspire us to deal with the situation better, inshallah. So today's session is on being overwhelmed with emotions. We may not have reached there, or maybe we do sometimes and then we're okay, but we want to discuss about how it feels to be overwhelmed. What exactly does it mean, and what does Islam have to say about dealing with emotions that overwhelm you? So what does it feel like when emotions overwhelm you? Okay, think about it. It could be fear, for example. It could be uncertainty. It could be, so many different negative thoughts that sort of wash over us, and they make us feel very uncomfortable, not knowing how to deal with it because we haven't dealt with it before. So we become confused, we become more vulnerable, we just give in because we don't know how to handle it. Right? So let us define first, what does it mean to be overwhelmed? It means to be overcome by an emotion you cannot control. So we all have this built-in self-discipline or self-control where we feel an emotion, but then we're able to, if we exercise it, we're able to get a hold of ourselves, right? And we've done that in the past. Sometimes we might feel very sad about something, but then we overcome it. But when the intensity of your emotion is so much that you feel you can't control it, that you feel it's getting the better of you, then that is when you are really speaking overwhelmed by that emotion. Okay. The second thing is it's on your mind all the time. You can't function normally because you just keep thinking about it. And that's something that we need to control. I know it's all around us. We open the news, it's there, it's in the papers. In fact, there's nothing else that people are talking about. All WhatsApp messages, everything is on the virus, right? And so that is what is on our mind all the time, and so it overwhelms the mind. Of course, an answer to that is bring something else into the mind sometimes. Of course, we need to be updated, we need to be aware, but we can't be listening to news all the time. We can't be reading messages about the COVID-19 all the time, because then it is definitely going to overwhelm us, and we don't want that. Okay. Third thing is that it consumes you, right? So now, because you're thinking of it so much, because you're overwhelmed, a resulting symptom is what? The physical manifestation of that is that it drains you of energy. It drains you of motivation. You don't feel like doing the normal things you normally do, you usually do, because it's like, what does it matter, right? So you don't want to take care of your hygiene or your clothing or your house or your cooking, all the things that you enjoyed perhaps doing. You may be less motivated to do them. Okay. And one more sign, and of course there can be many other signs also. This is not an exhaustive list, but it's just a glimpse of what it feels like to be overwhelmed. Like I said earlier, inshallah, we're not there, or we're not there all the time, but we want to make sure we prevent it. And we want to make sure we help others also. Okay. So one more sign of how it feels to be overwhelmed is that you're now not thinking or acting rationally. Okay. We become almost illogical because we think of the worst thing, and that's why we find so many people panicking, right? Whether it's hoarding because of panicking, whether it's like, I must now prepare for death, for everybody's death. Of course, we must always be prepared for death, but it doesn't mean that everybody is going to die because of this virus, right? Ultimately, all is in God's hands. And so if I think rationally and logically, then I will be able to answer my overwhelming emotion, and I will be able to calm myself down. But it becomes difficult to think rationally, right? Unless we're really able to take a hold of ourselves. So these are some signs of how it feels when you're becoming overwhelmed by emotion. And there's a way out of it. We don't have to live with this type of overwhelming emotion every day. God knows only how long this is going to last. And perhaps it's an exercise in self-discipline. We've all read messages which tell us about how much there is to learn from this crisis. Okay. And one of the things we must understand is that this is an opportunity for me to become really strong internally, to be very self-disciplined, refined, and polished inside. Because every time I get these negative emotions, and there'll be an abundance of those during this crisis, okay, I must learn how to overcome it, how to counter it, how to fight it. And that's the second thing that I want us to discuss. So the first thing we did was to see how it feels to be overwhelmed, right? To actually define it in concrete ways so that we recognize it. And so we know that I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm on my way to becoming overwhelmed. Yeah. So I need to stop myself before I go full speed that way, right? I need to recognize the signs. And so I can help myself, and I can help other people. Ladies, we should not only be thinking of ourselves, right? And when we stop thinking about how the crisis is affecting us personally, when I stop thinking about how I am affected, then I can think of others. then I can reach out to others. Then I can realize that if I have my emotions under control and if I am able to get a grasp of them, I'm helping people around me also, right? Because if I'm gloomy and sad and depressed, then people at home are also going to catch on those vibes. Yeah. Emotional vibes are very contagious. So if you get a hold of yourself and you feel a little bit better, a little bit calmer, believe me, your spouse, your children, whoever's at home, right? Whoever you talk to on the phone, they'll also feel better about it. So you make an intention, right? Today and every day, that you're going to get a grasp of your emotions. You're going to make yourself feel calmer, feel better, feel stronger, not for yourself only, okay, but for the sake of God, because God wants to see how we emerge from this, and also for the sake of others that I touch all the time, right? That I am in contact with. We don't live in an island, even in the crisis like this, although we're social distancing, but we're still in communication with a lot of people. And what we feel and what we think passes to others also. So that's a good intention to make, to calm yourself and to feel stronger, more positive for the sake of others. So if I feel a negative emotion, what must I do? Okay. And this exercise that we're going to go through just now is a very simple, logical one, which we can sort of tweak the way we want. We can practice it the way we want. We can change it perhaps, but each one of us must have some type of exercise that we do, right? When an emotion's getting the better of me, and that's even generally, not just in times of crisis, but we go through these fluctuations of emotions even during normal times, right? So sometimes I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm upset, right? I can't be a victim of my emotions, right? I mean, I might feel them for sure. I can't do anything about that. But I can do something about indulging in that emotion. I can put a stop to it and I say, I have to rise above this and I have to conquer these emotions. SubhanAllah, God has given us that strength inside us and He wants us to use it. And the more we use it, the easier it becomes, the more well being and peace we will have internally. Insan is able to have a lot of internal peace despite having very difficult circumstances outside. Please let's not make ourselves victims of circumstances, right? We must counter them, rise above them, do something about them, and still maintain some type of inner well-being that is not vulnerable, okay, to circumstances or to people. So countering overwhelming emotions. The first step is to recognize the feeling, okay? So if I'm alert to myself and I know I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling doubtful, I'm feeling apathetic, right? I'm feeling low, whatever, put a word to it and recognize it before it becomes too large. Because remember, every emotion, if you catch it, if you nip it in the bud, it becomes so much easier, right? So recognize it and straight away stop. I always say this, and some of you might have heard this from me before. Have an internal stop button. You recognize these thoughts that are coming, wave after wave of thought. Why is the government implementing these measures? What's going to happen? How long is this going to last? When will I meet people again? When these thoughts start coming and you recognize that you're becoming overwhelmed, just stop that train of thought. Press an imaginary stop button inside your mind, okay? And then do a dhikr. Straight away turn to God. Do any dhikr that helps you. A salawat, a la hawla wa la quwwata, a subhanallah walhamdulillah, an ayat of Quran, whatever you're familiar with, whatever you like to recite. We all have our own, special dhikr that we recite that. Number 4, the fourth step after you've done that dhikr, then you will be suddenly a little bit stronger because of that dhikr. You've turned to God, God will give you the strength. So then you keep on this process, this exercise. You're now going to replace that thought with a logical thought, with a more calmer thought, right? So if I get the thought, how long is this going to last? Is it going to spoil my summer plans? How can I survive for 3 months like this, etc., etc.? Okay, I can replace it with another thought. I stop and I say, God, help me. Okay. And then I tell myself, nobody knows how long this is going to last. Okay. Did I think I would last a week without meeting people, anybody? But I've lasted more than that. Right. Are there alternatives to meeting people? And yes, I can talk to people. If my summer plans are cancelled, is that the end of the world? Are there more serious things to be thinking about? Are people suffering much more than I am? There are so many thoughts that I can now bring into my mind so that I'm not overwhelmed by that fear and that uncertainty, right? So replace the thought, and that's mind control. And we can all practice that. We don't need degrees to do it. We don't need a lot of education. We don't need a preacher to tell us. It's all from within. You can do it for yourselves. And like I said, the more you do it, the better you become at it. The next time it's easier. You can have a whole, arsenal of weapons, like as in thoughts that you can bring out and say, stop thinking those thoughts. Here are some better thoughts, right? And your mind becomes accustomed to those better thoughts. And then the fifth and sixth step is now do something, okay? Don't just sit thinking, because the mind is a dangerous thing. So do something physical, right? Move around the house, do some cleaning, some cooking, some talking on the phone, whatever it is that you can do. Right? Sometimes you don't feel like doing it, force yourself to do it. Those are good distractions. They lift our minds away from, those thoughts. And it helps when you have a physical distraction. And then the last thing is to reach out, talk to people, use some resources. There's a huge number of resources available for us, right? For our mental and emotional health, for spiritual health, for so many things. So go through those resources and help yourself. All right, so there's one more thing I want to do, and then I will open it up for discussion, okay? And this is a beautiful hadith from the sixth Imam, which I had to share with you. I think there is so much soothing in this hadith if we follow it, right? And the Imam talks about an emotion that is overwhelming. So he talks about 4 emotions that overwhelm you, that engulf the mind and the heart, and he gives us a Quranic verse for each of them. Quran has shafa, right? So I know many of us are trying to read more Quran, ponder over it. We have time now. So alhamdulillah, that's a great way of, increasing spirituality and also calming the mind, occupying your mind, etc. But what this hadith talks about is 4 specific verses. Use those as medicine, as your pill, for example, right? That you take for spiritual diseases, just like we might take physical pills and medicine. We also need spiritual dawa, right? And so Imam in this hadith talks about 4 different things. And let me go through it. I'll read it quickly. It's quite self-explanatory, and I really do want us to discuss, so I don't want to spend too much time talking. Okay? So Imam al-Islam says, عَجِبْتُ لِمَنْ فَزِعَ مِنْ أَرْبَئٍ كَيْفَ لَا يَفْسَأُ إِلَىٰ أَرْبَئٍ. I'm surprised at a person who is terrified of 4 things. Why does he not seek refuge in 4? Okay. What are those 4? I am surprised at a person who is afraid. Why does he not seek refuge in Allah's words? Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. This is a verse of Quran. So Imam says, when you're afraid, I'm surprised. If you're feeling fear, why don't you go and seek refuge in this verse of Quran? Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Because I have heard Allah Azza wa Jal say after it, so they returned with Allah's blessing and grace, untouched by any harm. SubhanAllah, this is a promise from God. Okay. So when you recite Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil, you talk to God and you say, God, you have promised in your book that people who recite this, they returned with Allah's blessing and grace, untouched by any harm. I believe in your promise because you do not break your promise. So you're reciting something and then you're reciting the follow up to that, both from the same verse of Quran, Surah Al-Imran, which is Surah number 3, verse 173. I would highly advise you to write this verse number down at least, right? And, later on, go through that verse and then make it a habit of reciting it every day, maybe once, maybe 7 times after namaz, maybe 10 times, maybe a tasbih of it, whatever works for you. Get people in your family to recite it. This is a very powerful dua for khawf, for fear. Okay. Then Imam says, I am surprised at the person who is distressed. Why does he not seek refuge in the words of Allah? There is no God except you. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minal zalimin. We know this as Ayat Karima. We know this is what Nabi Yunus recited. Okay. And Imam says, if you're distressed, why don't you recite this? Because what has God promised after it? It says, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ, we answered him. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ, and we rescued him from distress. وَكَذَلِكَ نُنْجِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and thus do we rescue the mu'mineen. Okay. A very powerful promise for those who recite La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minal zalimin when they're distressed. And that's in Surah Anbiya, Surah number 21, Ayat 87. Then Imam says, I am surprised at a person who is deceived. Now these other two, so remember we said Imam has 4 things. The first 2 were fear and distress, and then the second 2 are deception and worldliness, and they may apply to us just now, they may not apply to us just now, but it's good to know them. Okay. So he says, I'm surprised at a person who is deceived. Why does he not seek refuge in the words of Allah? Ufawwidhu amri ilallah innallaha basirun bil ibad. When we have all these conspiracy theories going on, when we have all this idea of fake news, we don't know what's right, what's wrong, right? Perhaps we can recite this and say, Ufawwidhu amri ilallah innallaha basirun bil ibad. I entrust my affair to Allah. Surely Allah watches the affairs of his servants. Because I have heard the promise of Allah that he says after it, فَوَقَاهُ اللَّهُ سَيِّئَاتِ مَا مَكَرُوا. Allah saved him from their evil schemes. If there is fake news, if there is conspiracies, right, then we will be saved from them. Okay, so there's a question here about repeating the ayah numbers. Okay, Rabia, I will repeat them at the end. Okay, let me just finish the 4th one and then I will repeat all the verse numbers. And the last thing Imam says, I am surprised at a person who wants the world and its adornments, why he does not seek refuge in the words of Allah. Masha Allahu la quwwata illa billah. Sometimes we want good things of this world. What this hadith means at this part is that we want the world, not necessarily a lot of like wealth or anything, but we want comfort in the world. We want to do our normal things in the world, right? We want to go to work and to go out and have fun and go to restaurants. And, we want to do all those things, which we normally do in the world. So maybe if we feel like that, right, why can't we do things of this world anymore, right? Imam says, recite this, Masha Allahu la quwwata illa billah. Because I have heard Allah say after it, if you see that I have less wealth than you and your children, maybe my Lord will give me better than your garden. So this is from Surah Al-Kahf, verses 39 and 40, and it talks about the two people who had gardens and they were arguing with one another. But what it means is that if you don't have what somebody else has, or in our case, if we don't have what we had before, okay, the idea is that if I recite this, there is a promise that I will be given better than that. That's amazing, okay? That I will come out of this time a better person, that life will be much better, maybe not the same, right? But it will be appreciated more. We will enjoy it more. We will learn to really, appreciate everything so much more, see things in different colors. So it's like a new world that will be offered to us afterwards. So it will be better. That is what this verse is promising, that when you want something of this world, and you feel you're lacking it, you don't have it, recite this, MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah. And then the promise of God is that He will give you better than that. Okay. So let me repeat the 4 verses, okay, for those who want them or who want to write them down or whatever. The first one for fear is Surah Al Imran, Surah number 3, Ayat 173. The second one for distress is in Surah Anbiya, Surah number 21, Ayat 87. The third one for deception, right, for being deceived, is in Surah Ghafir, which is Surah number 40, Ayat number 44. And the last one about wanting good things of this world, that is in Surah Kahf, which is Surah number 18, Ayats 39 and 40. So do some tadabbur on these verses, learn them, recite them, absorb them, and use them to help you deal with your overwhelming emotions. All right, ladies, so I'd like to open up now. So this is the last slide for those of you who can see. It's just an image that I was able to get online about all these 4 verses, right? The numbers are not there on the image, but I've already given you the numbers. And at the bottom of the slide, you can see the source of hadith. This hadith has been mentioned in 3 very reliable books. Interestingly enough, even the Sunnis have this hadith. When I was searching for it, in Arabic, the sources that the Sunnis refer to, they also have this from Ja'far as-Sadiq. That's what they say, alayhi salam. So it's a well-known hadith and a beautiful one to remember, especially during these times. All right, so ladies, I'd like you to either speak now or ask a question or chat in the chat box. Please share with us what you feel, what you're going through, what you'd like to discuss more about. So there's a question, and I will repeat the question. Should you recite only that part of the verse, like MashaAllahu la quwwata illa billah, or the whole verse? The hadith mentions only that part of the verse. Okay, so Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil, right? La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. So not the entire verse, just that part of the verse. Okay. Thank you. Somebody has mentioned that these verses are in the daily dua after Salatul Fajr. Very good connection there. Okay. And we are fortunate that we have this dua that we recite every day. It's such a beautiful dua, and it has these verses. And if we ponder over it every day, it really is very helpful. Okay, somebody has raised their hand, a couple of people. Please unmute your mic one at a time. So Kursum, you can start. Let's try if you can talk. A few people are raising their hands. I don't know if that means that they want to talk. If you do, please feel free to unmute your mic and try talking. Okay, we might have to unmute them. Can admin do that, please? Let me see. I don't know if I can. All right, so somebody is unmuted. Can you chat? So you can unmute bottom left corner of your screen. Can you all see that? The microphone button, which has an X on it. There's no mic button? Okay.
For bridge through credit or other measures, their ability to make it to the arrival of the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, but we will continue to work diligently and rapidly.
Okay, please bear with us. I'm not sure if people can unmute themselves or we are supposed to unmute them. Admin, can we try unmuting everybody perhaps and then see how that works?
Asked about this for several days now. Your question keeps being things that are still on the table, but people are laying off workers now. Now you seem to be saying that struggling businesses could choose.
Okay, somebody is unmuted and has something on. If you can turn that off, please. Okay.
This new benefit. Is that what you're urging struggling businesses to do? And why?
All right, it might be best to chat in your questions because this is a large group. It might be difficult for people to speak. We might speak all at the same time. So please feel free to type your questions in the chat box or your comments, and we are monitoring those, okay? Okay, so there are a few questions that I will read and answer. In fact, quite a few. Okay, is it possible for you to share the slides with us? Admin will have to answer that because I'm not sure, okay? It might be possible, so we'll try for that, okay? Yes, so somebody else also asks the same thing. Okay, people are worried about what will happen after it's over, especially concerning business and work. So again, that's a worry. And what we're talking about is trying to deal with worry, right? There's nothing we can do just now. We don't know how it's going to be afterwards. So at the moment, we're trying to keep our emotions in check as much as possible and help ourselves, help other people, do what we can, right? And leave what we can't do anything about. How do we overcome feelings of guilt that we're not doing enough? That's a good question. We should just keep trying to do as much as is possible for us. I think we should not have very high expectations. Remember, this is something we haven't gone through before. And so we'll have to, test it as it comes to us. And so I think don't have such high standards for yourself, but yes, every day try and do better, I guess. Okay. Has this been recorded for somebody who's not been able to listen to it? Yes, it is being recorded, and you can write to us, either the admin or myself, for a recorded file. Of course, it will be for women only.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, it's Jamila. Just a question, and I have put it on the chat as well, but if you want to attend to it right now. What if you're in a state of depression that is really bad, that you don't feel like reciting anything, that you've kind of feel, even if I do recite, it doesn't make a difference. I know you have to have the hope in Allah and all that, but this is,
Yes.
for somebody who's
I'm
at
good,
that,
alhamdulillah. Yourself?
yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you, Jamila. That's a good question. People
None.
might
We are absolutely on lockdown.
people might feel so low already that they don't think this can help them anymore, recitation of verses. I would answer that or deal with it in two different ways. Okay? One is to look for other resources that the person feels like doing. So they don't feel like reciting. Do they feel like listening to something? Do they feel like talking to somebody? Do they feel like, looking at nature, going out in nature, maybe not going out, but watching something on nature? Like, what is it that might trigger some response in them? Okay, so they could look at that. Another thing is sometimes we don't feel like doing it, but it's a good idea to do a little of it, to almost force yourself. We can't always make ourselves, okay, if I don't feel like it, especially if it's for a long period of time. So today I don't feel like it, that's okay. Tomorrow I might feel like it and then I'll do it tomorrow. But say for days on end, I'm not feeling like it, perhaps I need to start. And then maybe once I start, I will get into the process, right? So I think that's how I would answer it. One is to try it slowly in small doses, and the other is
Sorry, I didn't catch them a little bit of that. On days when you feel, I don't know why it got cut off. I think internets are really bad.
Some days you don't feel like it, and then some days you do feel like it, right? So what I'm saying is, when you do feel like it a little bit, give yourself small doses of it. And if you don't feel like it at all for days on end, then you need to almost force yourself to do it. So that's two things. One is to do the dhikr in small doses, right? Or even if you don't feel like it. And number two, perhaps very important, is to look for other ways to counter that depression. So talking to people or looking for other resources, right? Dhikr, dawa is, the spiritual dawa is one way, but there are other ways also of answering the depression, okay? Okay, there are a lot of questions coming in. I am just trying to go through them and see. We have limited time, so I can't answer all of them. Are we planning more of these sessions? So inshallah, for now, we've planned one every Wednesday. If there is need for more than that, we could also do that, inshallah, okay? What are some simple ways to help others? Again, it's like talking to others, making your own small groups and chatting online, like a Zoom session like this with a small group. I think, we're so blessed to have technology. People should be getting together in small groups to talk, to discuss, etc. Okay, just let me go through the chat box. All right, so there's one about the fear I see in our elderly is quite troubling. Can you please share 10 minutes in Gujarati? Inshallah, I can do that. Maybe we can have a separate session. Sajida, let me look into that, and inshallah, I will get back to you, okay? Can you repeat the 4 steps? So inshallah, these slides with the hadith and with the four different verses will be put up on the religious advisor website. I will inshallah ask the admin to do that. I think it should be very possible to do that. So then you can refer to it. So the slides as well as the recording available for women will be put up on the religious advisor website. So, okay. All right. A question about the seniors living alone, right? Is Jamaat looking out for them? My mother's a senior and she's very scared of dying alone, being alone in the hospital. I know that this is a question that is occupying the minds of many people, of the seniors, as well as children, as well as members of the community. We're all concerned about our seniors. And I know that Jamaat is looking into it, that the seniors committee is, they've drafted a list of all the seniors, they're reaching out, they're calling them. So I think that people are reaching out. Maulana Rizvi is having seminars, online workshops about different issues. We had one on dying and ghusl kafan, etc. So that was covered. So I think that resources are available. Okay. A good comment here. One thing I found helpful is to be very loving and compassionate to yourself during this time and to others. Okay. Yes, this is a time when you're more loving than normal, more overlooking things, more patient, more compassionate. It really helps you and it helps others to deal with it. Okay. Physical exercise, definitely. Even a walk. They keep saying you can go out for a walk, just keep your distance from people, because I feel it's healthy to get some fresh air, to get some exercise. But if you don't want to go out, then at least do some exercise at home. Everybody needs to do that. It just lifts your spirits, right? It makes you feel better. Another thing, there's so many online sessions happening. Every community has these, every group. Join those and discuss this with other people. We are all in this together, right? And so it helps when you listen to other people and you discuss things with them. You know that you're not alone feeling the way you're feeling. Okay. So yes, exercise, yoga, pilates, all those things are very helpful. Okay. Is it okay to go out, help out people, even though you've been told to stay home? So now it all depends. I can't tell you that it's okay to go out to help people unless it is, like they say, an essential service. Otherwise, what you can do from home, talk to them, order them things online if they need some things. There's a lot of way out for all this. Okay. Yes, concentrate on the positive. Definitely, Skena, that's a great comment. Let us concentrate. Let us be grateful. One small tip that really helps is just to thank God every day, okay, for 3 things, only 3 things, in the morning or at night, or maybe both morning and night. Do this like religiously, regularly, consistently, and you feel yourself so much happier, because when we think of what we're grateful about, it just lifts our spirits, right? So be positive. How are people sending their questions? So you can send your questions through the chat box, or there is a question and answer button. Okay, so either way. Yes, the verses recited will help family members as well as ourselves, for sure. We all need help. Okay. Waking up early in the morning really helps. Okay, thank you. Again, a question about how is the slide and recording going to be available? That will be put on the Religious Advisor website, the same website you used to get this Zoom link. Inshallah, we will have it there. I just want to see if there are more questions in the question box.
Tahera, if you have a minute, then I'd like to say something.
Okay, give me 1 second, Jamila.
Sure.
Right, this is a good one. How can we all try and manage our own routines, work and housework cooperatively, when we're not used to spending so much time together? That's a big one, isn't it? I've had a lot of comments from people saying, I'm not used to this, my husband being home 24/7, or the kids, everybody on the table, everybody doing work at home. So of course it's a challenge, but just like we say, we've been saying, we have to deal with it as positively as possible. Don't expect too much. Don't expect too much routine or cleanliness or organizing, etc., etc. Just go with the flow for now. Some things, put them aside. It doesn't matter too much. Okay. Be relaxed a little bit. Be positive a little bit, and you'll find that your family will also catch on to that. Okay. Inshallah, God help us through that. are there Quranic verses that can help us stay motivated? Inshallah, we are going to be talking about being motivated, not being apathetic. That is one of the emotions that I want to discuss. So we will come to that in future sessions, in next week or the week after, inshallah, if we're still on. Jamila, go ahead with your question.
Assalamu alaikum. So, Tahera, I know somebody did ask you about the seniors and how they are being looked after and all. A lot of information is being given out, and I know I've mentioned this before I think at Zainabia as well. However, I do know that the seniors, a lot of seniors are not techie savvy.
Yeah.
In my own building, I know that there is, if I have to do my Zoom sessions for chai and chat or even the amals or anything, I literally have to run around the building to at least a couple of people and my mother to set them up with these things. It's just that they just can't seem to get the know-how. I don't know if there is a way of reaching out to them rather than on these on the devices. I'm like, it's great, we're really doing a great job, but I feel that there's a part of, I know there is at least 3 other people in this building who have no idea that all this is going on. And it takes a lot of my time because I have to glove and mask before I even get out of my door to get into the elevator. So what I'm saying is that, I don't know, maybe everybody, you all can think about this, and see if we can get through to them with all these things, even on a smaller basis. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out at you because I really feel concerned sometimes.
Okay, thank you, Jamila. I think that it has come up, it has been brought up, and one of the things that I know that the ladies committee here is looking into is doing some type of teleconferencing, so that we have some types of sessions on the phone where they just pick up the phone and then they can listen and maybe they can talk. So inshallah, if that works, perhaps we will be able to reach out to those seniors who are not savvy.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Tahera. I think that will help a lot.
Inshallah, we will pursue that. I know that there are a lot of questions and chats coming up. Unfortunately, we will have to end this session because the Jamaat has another session for boys coming up in a few minutes, and they requested that we end by 11:50. However, do share with us any questions, concerns you have. You can reach out to me personally or to the Jamaat or to anybody else if you have some requests or suggestions. We're here to support you through this, and if we can do more, then please let us know. We will be happy to, inshallah, have more such sessions with perhaps more time to really chat. Okay, so inshallah, God help us through all this, and thank you for joining. Please keep your spirits up. Inshallah, God help you, and may you be inspired to make the best of this time. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.